Hello my dear viewers, welcome back to Ruhoni Sewing. Welcome back to part 3 of the wrap dress series. This is the last part of the series where we're going to make a bit complicated design of the wrap dress. So without further delays, let us start. So as usual, here are the materials needed. We have the pattern for the sleeve as well as for the front and back. We have our square ruler, straight ruler, as well as our curved ruler. We also have our pencil, rubber, tape measure, as well as our pattern paper. So in this tutorial of the Petal wrap dress, we are also going to see how to draft a pattern for the petal sleeves as well as for the one shoulder design. So here is a sketch of our dress. It's a one shoulder dress with petal sleeves, as you can see here. It is going to be a two-piece dress, and the bottom part of this dress is also going to be of a petal design. Okay, so that is our front. Now let us draw the back pattern of our dress. And so for our back pattern, we are not going to have any modification, as you can see from the diagram, except for the one shoulder neckline. And so we are going to have three parts. We are going to deal with the sleeves and then the top part, okay, and lastly we are going to finish with the bottom part of our dress. So before we continue, I want to remind you of this side dart of the front pattern. And the size of this dart is the difference between the back side seam and the front side seam. On my previous tutorial, I forgot to add that dart, so please remember that. So we are going to start with the top part of our dress. Here is the pattern paper, which is folded at the center, just like that. And you are going to place your pattern on top, your center front aligning with the fold. If you look at our diagram here, this is a one shoulder design, okay, and for that matter, that's why we had to draw our pattern in double, so that when you open your pattern just like this, you have two sides, the left and the right. So we are going to have our design on our right, and so for easy entering, I'm going to fold our pattern and start to make modification on this side. So at the top of our arm side, we are going to reduce by 1 centimeter, and on the waist, we are going to reduce 0.5 centimeter. Remember, this is the side which you are not going to have sleeve. And then take your ruler and connect these 2 points. Still on the waistline, on the side of the original side seam, measure 1 centimeter downwards. And then at the center front, measure 0.5 centimeters downwards, and then connect these 2 points as shown. Remember, you are measuring from the original side seam line. And then take your ruler and complete the modified side line exactly as shown here. Now to our neckline, we are going to use this modified side line. Measure 1/2 inch downwards, put a mark and label that mark as A or number 1 as you desire. Now open your pattern. Here is our point, but now we need to decide on the shoulder length so that we can connect it to our point on the side seam. So here I'm measuring 2 inches, put a mark, and then take your ruler and connect these 2 points as shown. Just like this. And so here is our neckline. So this is a straight neckline, but you can make your neckline into whatever shape that you wish, but make sure that you are going to connect to this point here. And so for me, I decided to make a slightly curved neckline, as you can see here. Remember to make your shoulder length short, otherwise if it is too wide, then you're going to have a very high neckline. After that, cut your pattern. Even though it is shown as if we are cutting on the fold, but we are not, because the side seam of the left and right are no longer equal. Okay, remember that. This is the bottom part of our top piece, and now we are going to make this top part here. It will be draft from this pattern, and it is a piece which is going to be joined to the bottom part or the bottom piece of our dress. So we are going to duplicate this pattern all the way to the waist. So here is our pattern, but remember when drawing to consider the side of the sleeve. So the first thing, we are going to get rid of these dots. So if you look at our diagram, the line is going to pass somewhere here, so we need to get rid of this dot and the other one. Our dots are going to be removed from the side seam. Each dot is 1 inch, and so we are going to measure 1 inch on the left side seam as well as on the right side seam. Then connect from the upside to these points on either side. So we no longer have these dots, and this line here is our new side seam as well as this one. Then measure on the waistline 2.5 inches and connect it to the shoulder line, or rather the neckline, just like this. And so here is our pattern from the neck to the waist to the side seam. So here is our top piece. So this is how they are going to be aligned. This is our top bottom piece, and this is our top piece, just like that. Okay, I hope now you understand and it is clear on how they are going to be arranged. Second, let us take care of the sleeves. As usual, trace your sleeve pattern as I did here. Now let us start modifications. Measure 2 inches downwards from the biceps line, and on the center line measure 5 inches downwards, and on the side of the front curve from the center measure 3 inches and put a mark. You can measure up to 4 inches, but avoid measuring up to this curve here. Now using your ruler or free hands, connect these 3 points. So when connecting these points, you can see we are going to have a bit of a curved line. To avoid that, I measured 4 inches instead of 5 on the center vertical line, and you can see when we want to draw the line, it is not too curvy. Then with the aid of your curved ruler, draw the curved line as shown. A reminder, when you are drawing your pattern, please make sure that you are drawing 2 sets of the sleeve pattern. Okay, so now let us continue. Now after drawing, we are now going as usual to cut our pattern. So this is our back side of our sleeve, and this line is a central line. With the aid of carbon paper, mark this line on the other side of the pattern. Now make sure here you are aligning these 2 lines very well, and then after that trace the pattern. Remove the pattern, and with the aid of your ruler redraw the curved line. Now remember, the side seam was only 2 inches, so make sure that the side seam of the front is also 2 inches. And measure 2 inches from the biceps line. This difference happened because the curve line on the back and front are different, and so it will not align perfectly at the side seam. Just make sure that the central line aligns well. And here we are. As you can see, this is our petal sleeve pattern. And to make it clear, the design of this pattern is the back overlaps the front. Okay, now let us finish with the bottom part of our dress. As you can see, this is the pattern that I have already traced. So from this basic front pattern, I've drawn from the waist to the hip, and then I added the rest of the length of our dress. Remember, this is a two-piece dress. And again, I have drawn it on the fold. As you can see here, this is our center front line. So let me take you back to our drawing. This is the design that we have. So we need the whole part of the front pattern when drawing this pattern. And for the back, as you can see, we are not going to have any modification here. So you will draw your pattern like this, okay, and then you are going to modify it as A line, but otherwise you are not going to have any more modification for the back. Now let us continue with the modification of our front pattern. From the hemline at the bottom, measure 1 inch going inwards and connect that point to the point on the hip line on both sides. Since it is a two-piece dress, measure 1.25 centimeters on the side seam upwards. Connect that point to the waistline, and then with your ruler, now connect from the center front line to this point at the side seam. However, we need to remember that we made modification on the top piece of our dress. Remember, here at the waistline we reduced it by 0.5 centimeters. So we need also to do the same for the bottom part for them to match properly. So what we are going to do, we are going to measure 0.5 centimeters and redraw the side seam line as shown here. The third step is to make this petal line on our front pattern. So open your pattern just like this. The fold line here, this is our center front line. Since our line is going to cross on this central line, how high we want it to be, and this is the point here. So let us measure that point first. So for me, I have decided that we are going to measure 5 centimeters from the bottom or from the hemline, okay? Put your mark, and this is where our line is going to cross. Again, determine where this line here is going to start from your hemline. So this is our hip line, okay? And I want it to go a bit further from the hip line, and so I'm going to measure 2 inches from the hip line. So now connect these points to the hemline at the bottom. You can either do it freely by your hand or you can use curved rulers. And here is our pattern. For the top part, this is our pattern. It's an A-line pattern. Our first step is to get rid of the dart. I had already removed that dart from the side seam, and now we are going to do the same on this other side. Next, we are drawing this line here, and we are going to measure 2 inches from the side seam line. Finish by drawing a curved line all the way to the hemline. And here is the complete bottom part of our dress pattern. Thank you so very much for watching.